All right. Let's get started. So today what we're going to do is talk about strategy, considerations, and framework going into how to build an insurance bot or how to build a bot. Let's start with questions. Like, I'd like to hear in your words, John and Seth, before we get started, what do you think a bot is and what do you think the value of a bot is?
Well, I guess a bot is essentially just something to communicate with people, a way to automate the process of either offering a product or gathering data. And the value I see is it takes time away from the agency owner and insurance from having to do that. It helps automate that step and gets them leads or potential clients in a faster area that they're already searching in.
Okay, and now one follow-up question, then I promise to leave you alone. Would you expect, or do you expect to get immediate results when building your first bot and deploying?
I would expect to get some immediate results, whether they're the highest quality. I think that's something that's going to evolve over time as we get better and better with it.
Okay, thanks for answering that. And Seth,
yes.
Same question. Like, in your world, what is a bot and what is the value that it can deliver to the marketplace?
I agree with everything that John said. The only thing I would add is that it frees up human time for harder problems. It can basically take care of 50 to 70% of queries, inform people without exhausting human attention for something that can be handled by a machine.
Awesome. And anyone else that's watching on Zoom or on Facebook, feel free to answer that. So I wanted to ask that question because 1 year ago, I was much like you guys getting started into this venture, and I had high expectations. I believe, and I still do believe, that bots and AI and automation are the ultimate in terms of marketing and technology. It's the perfect blend of the two. The reality is it's not a perfect science. It takes a lot of work. You're not going to hit a home run at your on your first trip to the plate. You'll be lucky to hit a single. But with a little bit of stick-to-itiveness and commitment, the rewards are there. The rewards may not be there immediately, but they will be there moving forward into the future. So let's start with intent. This is something on the real estate and mortgage side that we talk about every single day. How do you raise the intent of the people that are interested in your product? And this conversation is kind of twofold. Number one, if you think about Google and a search engine, people that go out to Google and a search engine that search for insurance have very high intent. Chances are they're landing on something like The General, right, John?
Right, yeah, all the sponsored ads.
Yeah, so an aggregator of some sort, and it's a lead generation engine that's capturing the consumer, getting their information, and farming the leads out to third party. Very expensive, to the extent where it's very prohibitive for a local agent or broker. Have you ever used AdWords?
Personally, no, but I've definitely purchased those internet leads you're talking about.
Very expensive, but what you're paying for is intent, high intent. On the social media side, what you're getting are essentially cheap raw material. Your raw material is the traffic. Getting very cheap raw material, but that raw material has very low intent. So what the importance of the intent piece here that applies to real estate and mortgage, probably more so than insurance, but it's very important in insurance. Measuring and nurturing the intent of the consumer or the person that has shown interest. Sometimes they may land in a conversational interface and have very little intent. But you, as a good salesperson, can nurture that intent. Have you had examples of just cold calling and selling to someone that wasn't interested, John?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A bot
especially in insurance, there's always something they're not happy about. It's just, you gotta find it.
A bot can do that same thing. From Piotr said, social media traffic is very cold. That's very true. It's very cold, but it's very cheap. So how you process that cheap, cold traffic will directly represent how well your digital channels perform. So I'm going to mention the word intent every day for 10 days because that for me, that's the most important thing, is capturing the level of intent in a bot versus with artificial intelligence, identifying where they're at in terms of an intent scale, and then taking them on a journey or path depending on where they're at in their intent scale. If they have low interest, low intent, you nurture them a different way. It's more of an ongoing nurture campaign. If someone has high intent and they said, I'm ready to buy, I'm ready to roll, that's when you go in for the kill. That's when you try to hit that grand slam. Yep. So as we build out the bot, we're going to be talking about that quite a bit. Another comment coming in. Davis, you go for it immediately and skip the rest, correct? For anyone that shows high intent, yeah, that's my recommendation. Any questions?
If they're ready to buy and shop, don't stop them.
We're going to talk a little bit more about intent when we get into the defensive nature of consumers in messaging. But anything else about intent right now? John, do you have anything to add?
I just feel in insurance, the biggest thing is finding their pain point. You know, why are they potentially shopping? Mm-hmm. And really, showing how you can excel beyond their current carrier or current agent or company.
Do you do a lot of cold calling?
I used to, not as much anymore. A lot of my calls are lukewarm, kind of the purchased internet leads where they've shown a basic intent, but you really don't know why they're shopping yet.
And what in your world is an appointment? Is it a phone call? Is it a sit down? Is it?
Preferably it's an in-person, but in this day and age, that's not always as feasible as it used to be. So oftentimes it's a scheduled or for sure callback that they have intention to actually keep.
And a fairly difficult question here. Can we talk about the funnel from cold to lukewarm to warm to hot? Cold to lukewarm is probably a difficult question to ask and difficult for you to respond to. But when you have a lukewarm lead and you call them up, how many people, what percentage of those people or lukewarm leads do you set an appointment with?
Maybe 20, 25%. If we're doing phone and that's the focus and not in person, the numbers can get much higher. Okay. But I'd say if you're going for in person, you should be happy with 10 to 25%, because realistically, everyone feels they're too busy nowadays. So you need to be able to work on their schedule. Whereas on phone calls, you can typically get over a lot of their objections by setting a specific time, sending them a calendar invite, some sort of way to get them to commit a little bit harder than just, I'll call you at 3.
Okay, so let's assume phone, and let's pick a number. Let's pick a target. Our bot is hopefully going to help pre-qualified leads to get them to a point where they're lukewarm or warm, and you get phone numbers, and you call every single person. How many people, give us a number, a target. How many people would you like to set an appointment with?
So we're assuming that these people have gone through the bot, expressed at least enough interest to have clicked and filled out the information, and then how many of those people are we going to be able to set an appointment with?
Yeah.
For a phone call, I honestly don't think like 80, 90% is potential there.
All right, let's err on the side of caution. Let's just document, Seth. Let's document 60%.
Sounds good to me. I was going to say 50 if we're being conservative.
Okay. And there's a conversation, the context of the bot, as it translates and transfers and migrates from the digital ecosystem to the physical real world, and you pick up the phone and call people, you're at an advantage over a typical landing page with a form, and that is one simple part of the conversation. Hi, John. We were just chatting on Facebook Messenger. Thank you for sharing whatever they shared. You already have that connection.
Yep.
So that's a very powerful part of a bot. And once again, we'll be talking about that again later. So that we've wasted a lot of time. I've wasted a lot of time on that. Let's move into the next piece, which is very important, and that's the conversation versus bells and whistles. What is it about bots that most attracted you? Like, is there any feature within a bot that makes you say, "Oh my God, this is sliced bread"?
Just the whole automation. It's a way to gather leads that you're paying for, but they come directly to you. They're not shared. Most internet leads you purchase are sold to 4 or 5, 6 companies, agents.
Exclusive leads. That's great. Seth, anything about a bot, like technology-wise, that makes you go, "Oh my God, this is awesome"?
I mean, I think the immediacy, it's basically like having a rep that never sleeps. I think the medium is also very interesting because it demands simplicity. It calls for natural communication that isn't found on websites for the most part. You know what I mean?
That's perfect. So I, as a technologist, I get enamored with bells and whistles. Like, for me, a web view is the end all be all. Like, that's the coolest thing ever. The reality is, as cool as they are, and as complex as you can make them, consumers don't react to them. Consumers tend not to react to non-natural things, or they tend to react to natural things. So in the due course of a conversation, when you start throwing buttons and quick replies and web views, it's not natural. And while it's cool, technically, it's just not natural to the consumer. They then know there's not a person on the other end. They want to feel as though they're talking to a person.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of data behind what I just said, a whole ton of data on the real estate and mortgage side. A couple questions and comments coming in, just so we don't ignore people. From Guy, I think text messages count as part of the warm-up, right? Yes. It takes X context to sell a prospect. Texting counts. Yes. In the real estate and mortgage space, for us, our data says 16 to 26 touches. So a lead comes in, you got to touch them 16 to 26 times before you close a deal. That number is probably a lot less on the insurance side, right?
We typically hear 7.
Okay, so 7 touches on insurance. That's good to know. Messenger is a touch. Just make sure that the messenger touch is of quality. Jim said, value is lower cost, allowing businesses to be open 24/7 without the cost of a call center. Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so let's start with the assumption that a lot of what we're going to do in the next 10 days is going to be very natural. It's going to be very conversational. Well, we will get into some tech. We're going to try and avoid the quick replies and the buttons and the web views as much as possible. There's a time and place for that. Next is the digital dark alley. Let me accelerate this part of the call because we're going a little bit over. The digital dark alley. This is huge. In the real estate and mortgage space, it's pretty conclusive that when people click an ad on Facebook, they're so accustomed to landing in a landing page or in some open space on the internet where getting out or exiting is just the top right X button. They can leave anytime they want. Messenger is a little bit different. Messenger, half the people that land in there don't even know how they got there. Trust me. How did you get my name? How did you get my number? Please remove me from your list. Even though they were the ones that voluntarily clicked an ad. They don't know, the consumers don't know how they got into the bot a lot of the time. So you have to be aware of that. Another part of this is they don't know how to get out or they can't get out. If you have, and I'm guilty of this, if you have overbearing sequences or nurture campaigns in your bot that hit people up every 5 minutes, they do it too frequently, it creates defensive consumers that will make your life a living hell. And I've seen it all. My husband's going to come shoot you, leave me alone, or I'll sue you. I have seen some of the craziest responses. So general rule, in a nurture sequence, in a bot, if the mouse doesn't take the cheese at the first try, take one more good quality try at getting the mouse to take the cheese. If they don't take the cheese on the first try or the second try, your chances of getting them to take the cheese on the third, fourth, and subsequent tries is minimal. So focus your attention on the first 2 touches in Messenger. Disarming the consumer is next. very, very important, consistent with the digital dark alley, is when people land in a bot, I like to call it the last bastion of privacy. People hold their text message communication very secretly. It's very important to them, and the same with Messenger. Messenger might even be more sacred than text messaging. You have to be aware of this. When someone comes into a bot, you don't try to hit a home run on the first date, like Gary Vaynerchuk says. Be very soft and subtle and ask disarming questions. So now, Seth, John, and anyone else, what I'd like to do is capture a couple disarming questions that you or anyone else may have. What can you ask someone to disarm them, to get them to open up and speak and trust you? John.
I think the biggest thing is just communicating as quickly as possible that you're not there to sell them something they don't need. It's state your goal clearly to them, so that way they don't feel like they're getting led along into who knows what, or getting drawn into some pushy sales tactic.
And what's your opinion?
Along the lines of, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead and finish.
I was saying something along the lines of I'm not here to sell you something you don't need. It's my goal to either save you money or provide you superior coverage at a similar price. And then asking for some sort of agreement, like, does this sound reasonable?
Seth.
I mean, asking how you can help today, getting people to talk about what they're going through, I found has been a good strategy in face-to-face.
Okay, I truly believe this is perhaps the most important part of the process, is getting someone to know, like, and trust you as quickly as possible. So in your opinion, or in your experience, John, is an open-ended question at the beginning of a sales conversation, or a closed question where you try to direct the answers? What's better?
Usually an open-ended to get them talking as soon as possible. In insurance, we want them talking at least 25% of the time, preferably closer to 50. So the quicker we can do that, we can find out what their pain point is. And then again, like I said earlier, really focus on addressing that.
Okay. So it's thus far, I don't have a lot of conclusive proof, and I have zero data or knowledge in the insurance industry, is the open-ended question, the disarming open-ended question. Get them to speak. As we dive into the artificial intelligence part of it, you can actually, with AI, you can extract pieces of whatever it is they tell you, open-ended, and use that later on in a conversation. So if someone says, for example, I had homeowners insurance and my dog bit the neighbor and I got sued and, they didn't cover all of my liability, blah, blah, blah. We can pick out of that phrase, home, insurance, dog, liability, package it all up, save it, and use it later.
Absolutely. Both Davis and Jim have some good points there in the chat as well. Make them feel like they were the one that initiated it. They wanted to talk to you. That's very strong.
And 3 to 5 word answers. Is that what, Jim, is that what you're trying to get? 3 to 5 word answers? Cool. Good to know. Seth, document it.
I really like that. I always thank them for their time as well. Always make sure that they understand that you're grateful for them.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So anyone that's watching now or later, please, if you have a disarming question and you want to share it with us, please do. Please do let us know, because I think this is, in terms of anyone that's interested in deploying a bot or a conversational interface, this is critical. How do you get people to talk? How do you get them to know, like, and trust you? So I'm anxious to hear what other people have to say about that. So let's dive into the reason we're here is diving into the bot. So are we ready to dive into the bot?
Good to go.
All right. Did you guys get a chance to look at the bot, Seth and John?
I took a brief look at it, the base framework you had.
Cool.
Back up here.
And Al said he can't make it, unfortunately, or if he does, he's going to be on later. He had a call to take. The reality is this is an adaptation of a framework that I use for all my other bots. So I pieced together what I thought would be a good insurance bot framework. I've shared it with John and Seth, and they have access to it. A lot of what I have here is I work with Al quite a bit on different bots. So I look tactics, techniques, things that are in this bot. A lot of it has, Al's contributed to it. Likewise, I don't want to in any way, shape, or form pretend what we have here is the end-all, be-all. If we're going to go through this. When we go through this, if anyone has anything else to add, I'd love to hear other suggestions. Howard, our software insurance software professional, says you're creating really high expectations from the client or prospect by asking open-ended questions. John, what are your thoughts on that?
That makes sense. I think it depends on what that open-ended question is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's to determine their intent, I mean, like oftentimes we lead with what has you shopping for insurance, or something as simple as how would you rate your current carrier on a scale of 1 to 10, and then follow that immediately with a why. Why did you give them that rate?
Right.
I think if you just do like, how's your day going, you're going to get who knows what answers, and it's going to go all over the place, and you're going to lose control.
I agree. I've been down that road and I've tried that. Like, how is your day, and trying to like schmooze your way into the hearts and minds of consumers is not it. You need to be a little bit more direct. So I agree. All right, so scrolling through the bot, the welcome message. We're not going to do much on the welcome message today. What I will say is, if you're using bots for lead generation or sales or marketing, 90%, very likely 95 or more % of your traffic will come from a paid advertisement. And typically, it's my recommendation, and it's a best practice, not to send consumers to your homepage. There's times when it's the right thing to do. It's just like if you're running an ad on the internet. You want to use a squeeze page. You want to use a lead magnet to a squeeze page and give the consumer a bribe and get them to opt in and cut out all of the small talk. Typically, the welcome message is a waste of 3 to 5 seconds worth of valuable time. For that reason, it's just like the homepage of a website. It's just basic navigation. This is the standard welcome message for a new bot. I have not done anything to it, but we'll come back to this on days 2 and 3. Next is the default answer. Very important. When you're starting a new bot, delete this. Eliminate it. It will do nothing but create the death spiral. The death spiral is, I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. I'm sorry, this bot is built by Chatfield. Just delete it and get it out of sight, out of mind from the beginning. Couple comments. Brent, if it's B2B, I often open a conversation with, tell me a bit about your business. Yes.
Yep.
Small assumption here is we're going to be focusing primarily on P&C, home and auto, for the next 10 days. And from Guy, there are some live real-time quote tech platforms. Would that be of any value to give a real-time quote as an option? I say yes. From a distance as a programmer, Howard and John, what are your thoughts on that?
It'd be awesome if it could actually quote, but I think in a lot of companies you're going to run into compliance issues.
That's what I've been told. I'd love to hear what Howard has to say about that. Any questions about default answer? Has anyone ever experienced the death spiral?
Oh yeah.
All right, just delete it. Just get rid of it. We're going to rebuild it starting on day 4. Maybe even hook it up, prepare it on days 2 and 3, but we'll focus on it on day 4. Next is our landers. These, I put comments in here as well for you guys. And for anyone that's watching now or later, our intention is we're going to build a new version of the bot every day. As you can see, today is V01, tomorrow's going to be V02, so on and so forth. As time permits, I'm going to publish these templates to the Chatfuel community so that they can be easily downloaded. So if, for example, you just wanted a solid framework to start building from, you can download V01. Or if you want a little AI built in, you can download V05 or 6. So we'll incrementally build upon it. And I think it's going to be helpful for Seth to see the different incremental features that we build in over time. So here's what the landers are. The landers are going to be your landing blocks for your advertisements. So when you publish an ad, you can actually direct messenger traffic to any given block that you want in your bot. This becomes super hypercritical important because you send consumers or users to these landers, and you can set attributes and use those attributes later on in a conversation. Example, in the real estate and mortgage space, we ask the question to get people into a bot: do you plan on moving in 180 days? When they click yes, we route them through the yes block, and when they click no, we route them through the no block. Then we use that information later. In the case of no, we ask them why. You mentioned you're not moving in 180 days. How about within the next year? If they've answered yes to 180 days, then we ask them, can you, refine that a little further? Can you tell us a little more? I don't know what those questions are in insurance, but I'm certain you can take the same approach. Could be, are you interested in home, life, or auto? Or home, auto, or home and auto. They click something, and now you have that information. Make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Typically we always assume that home comes with auto. Pretty much everyone either rents or owns.
So you do the opposite? When someone has auto, do you assume both as well?
Yep.
Okay.
It's really only if they don't own an auto that they don't necessarily need both. Because, every company pushes bundling together these days for the discounts and all your coverage with one company, the convenience.
So that's your assumption right out of the gate, is I'm going to cross-sell and upsell and beat this person.
He's definitely going to ask. Okay,
good to know. Sergio just joined as well. John, you may want to hook up with Sergio, or at least get to know him. Sergio's much like myself, but he's an expert in life, on the life side. Shout out.
Yeah, I think I already friended him. So
awesome. Big shout out, Sergio. Thanks for joining. So the same goes here for auto no, and your landers, this will grow out over time. So you're going to have an auto lander for yes, or whatever your question you're asking. You're going to have an auto for no. You have a home yes, home no. Combined yes, combined no. Life yes, life no. It depends on where you want to take this, what path you want to go down. When you set up the landers, you have a couple features that you're setting up. You're setting a go-to block that's taken care of later on in the process, and then you're setting the actual value of what they click in the ad itself. So you're keeping that information persistent here. Then we have at the bottom here is a go-to block where since someone came in from an auto ad, we're going to take them down the auto path. So we take them to Q1 auto lead gen, which is somewhere over here. This should be down here. Okay, so auto lead gen. When this is very important for a bot framework. When you get people into your bot, there's a couple things that you want to have happen. We have this go-to block here with a couple things going on. What these attributes represent are, number one, is bot initialized. Has this person ever been in my bot before, is the actual question. And what's the bot version we're playing with or dealing with? If neither of these conditions or one of these conditions isn't true, we route to an init block here. And I know we're getting a little bit technical, but this is super important. In your init block, what you're doing is you're setting all of your global values or variables or attributes that you can reuse throughout your entire bot. Bot ID and bot token are critical for future automation. You may not have in-depth automation today, but if you want to do automation tomorrow, it's better to have these and not use them than not have them and want to use them. And these are some of the other system attributes that over time, I pieced together from other industries and put them in here. Bot version, this just allows you to add new features and new attributes. System phone number is your phone number. Agent name is your name. Bot name is if you want to give your bot a name, Sally or Casey or whatever you want to give the name to. Subscribed is just the value, whether someone's subscribed for ongoing broadcasts or not. Your Facebook page is a link to your Facebook page. Website is your website, home, self-explanatory. Home, auto, life, and then down here, home and auto are just switches to determine if someone has landed and went through home, auto, life, or home and auto flows. And you can use these attributes later on to slice and dice your data and reconnect with people through broadcast or send them messages. You can do a lot of powerful things with the Chat Field Pro. I see a bunch of questions coming in. I'm just going to ignore them until we get through this screen. And then bot initialized here, we set this to true when someone comes into your bot, and then business name is your business name. So what I want to do real quick for those people that have never seen this screen is we're going to populate these values. Your bot ID comes from right here. That's your bot ID. Did you know that? Copy and paste it in there. Your bot token is on your configure tab. And it's right here. Highlight in there, copy it, come back in. Populate your bot token. Once again, this is used for automation, future automation, or automation if you want it right out of the gate. Our bot version is 0.1, which I try to get to match up here. System phone number. What's your phone number, John?
425-775-2218.
Got it? And your name is JOHNSYR. SY. My space does not work in here. I'm just going to put John. Bot name. Do you want your bot to have a name or no?
Whew, I wasn't ready for that one. Why don't we just call it Jim for now?
Okay, Jim.
I think it's something a little more creative.
So there's a company in the real estate world called Agenology, and they have a very cool concept. I'm very fond of them. They just got a big IPO, or they raised a ton of cash not too long ago. So they do nurturing for leads in the real estate space, and they have a whole room full of call center agents. Every agent's name is Casey. So it's like a multi-sex name.
Yeah, that's smart.
Casey can be a boy or a girl. So then when they turn the lead back over to the agent can always say, yeah, I saw you were talking with Casey. Or when you were talking with Casey, you mentioned. If you're going to pick a name, pick a multi-sex name. Subscribe, we're going to default to yes. Facebook page we'll take care of later. Website later. Home and auto, we're going to home, auto, life, and home and auto we're going to keep as not set. It is bot initialized. You'll always want to set this to true. And then your business name. What's your actual business? I'm just going to put John because of my space. So this is how you would fill in your attributes for a init. And then down here, what happens is once you go through the init for the first time, or you don't need to go through it again, this little script right here that I have in my development mode, which I'm going to include in the documentation, you can put on if you have a server, you can put it on your server, or you can reach out to someone like me and we can host it for you. But what this does is it redirects users to a block dynamically. The difference between that and a go-to block, you can only put what's available as current blocks. You can only put, sorry, let me get back to where I was. You can only put the blocks that are currently available, and there's no way to dynamically reference them. The purpose of this is to dynamically reference a block. That's hashtag pro tip. Every pro I know uses something like this. Any questions? Does this make sense? Is it a little too technical? I want to make sure everyone understands why it's there. Hello?
I'm following along.
Okay. I'm just checking messages. Henry Burton says, not sure about that. Henry, we can take that offline. Brent says, all good. Gary M says, I vote Gary. Gary, I hope you're talking about Gary V. Gary V is the man. I'm going to delete this block, and we're going to go back to where we were in the auto flow. But here's the auto flow. We go through the initialize. Then these attributes are not global attributes. They're flow attributes. So if someone's interested in auto, we're going to set some values for this campaign that are not globally available. We just want to know what campaign it is. That's what this value is here. You may have one campaign or one ad running in August, swap it out in September. This is a nice way to be able to keep track of what ads and what campaigns bring in what type of traffic and be able to monitor and measure them. Campaign type, this is home, auto, life, home and auto, whatever you want it to be. Flow is, sometimes your flow changes. This is a little bit technical, but what this allows you to do is, let's just say you have 4 questions today and you want to add a 5th question tomorrow. You can add that 5th question into your flow and then just increment this to V20 or V11, and then you'll be able to slice and dice your data to know which flow will work better. Setting auto to yes is, this is an auto campaign, and then lead scoring for us is huge. Do you use lead scoring at all, John?
A little bit. I think a lot of it's just mental, not necessarily written down per se, but we know pretty quickly the quality of a lead after talking to someone.
So in a bot, this is how we historically have used it, and for us it's worked out very, very well. We have a lead score of 1 through 5. I suspect this is Sergio. Sergio from Jim. Can you quickly define your version of lead scoring? Yes, I'm going to do that real quick. Here's our lead scoring: real estate and mortgage, and I think the same will play in the insurance. 1 through 5. A 1 is they've landed in my bot. 2 is they're in my bot and they've started answering questions. 3 is they've answered all the questions and they're about to leave an email. 4 is they are in the bot, answered all the questions, left an email, and are about to leave a phone number. And 5 is they've finished all the questions. So that lead scoring is very important for you as a business person, because you can go back and slice and dice and pick off the people that didn't leave phone number and ask them in a bot or via email, hey, let's get together. Here's my phone number, what's yours? Allows you to slice and dice it. And then from a reporting perspective, on the back end, we can take a look at, once we have a lot of data, we can see where the bottlenecks are and where traffic stops flowing through a bot.
So your lead score is more about how far they've gotten in the interaction with the bot, not necessarily the quality of insurance client.
That's absolutely correct. So we're just trying to measure, where is it in the flow people are dying out at. So some quick numbers for us in the insurance and mortgage space. When we do conversational flows, we get 42% of the people to move into lead score 2 territory. And that was last I checked my reporting about a month ago. So 42% of the people, cold traffic into a bot, 42% will reach lead score 2. When we do web view flows, that number goes down to 28%. So going back to the conversation about natural language and making it feel like a person is talking conversationally, that right there for us is a big number, from 42 to 28% conversational to web view. And our downstream lead score 5 numbers are, believe it or not, in the web view and conversational, they even out a little bit. I think it's 9% conversion on the web view and 12% on the conversational flow. That does not take into account when people jump in and manually in the inbox or via Janice, which we'll get to later on this week, manually nurture a lead and get a phone number outside of the context of a flow. And it does happen. So does that make sense? I see the glossed over look on your face, John.
Oh no, I'm following along.
Okay. There are times when someone will not finish a flow, and using the Janice tool, you can alert yourself or your team that someone has made it to lead score 4, but not to lead score 5, and that's an opportunity to jump in and nurture that lead in the inbox. Very powerful.
Like we said earlier, I think this will be something that develops. The only thing I was hearing there, though, that kind of concerned me a little bit was that we're not getting that many 5s. Because that makes me wonder if possibly there's too many questions being asked and that we're not making the process quick enough. People value their time to a very high level, especially with insurance, because no one likes to shop insurance.
And that's a great point. And we started this out with asking the question, do you expect to get results? So the numbers I just gave you are something that, you know, we look at very closely, and you certainly, when you start spending money on ads, you will look at very closely.
Right.
And there's no end game here. You're always looking to improve. So if you get 25, if you start with 12% and you today, and you get 25% tomorrow, here, I guarantee you're not going to be happy with 25.
Always get better.
Okay. So don't let the numbers scare you. Important part is there is work that goes into this. Sometimes you have to manually nurture the lead.
Absolutely.
At least at the beginning. And then you can turn that manual nurture into automation later. Incoming. 25% is a good number. Sergio says on the life side, I think he's speaking for the life side, 25% conversion is good. Any questions? Yes, no? All right, moving on. The insurance home and the insurance home and auto here are just the same thing. Setting different attributes, going through the same initialize, and then preparing the flow. And down here are, for us, 5 blocks in our utilities group here. And the 5 blocks are terminate. This is just a blank bot. So anytime you ever want to terminate someone, you just send them here. It'll kill the conversation. It won't kill the subscription. It just terminates whatever's going on at that moment. This is very important. Testing reset is, for us, anytime we want to start our testing over, we just launch this block and it resets all of our attributes, and we can go back to just like we were a new customer off the street. Very important. Objection, we're going to be working on these days 4 through 7. This is where you become the rock star and you teach us all about objection handling in the context of a sales conversation. So we're going to take those real life sales conversations and translate them into AI, and we're going to process them through this block here. And then objection stop is for the people that say not nice things, stop, unsubscribe. We just route them here and just kill the conversation, unsubscribe them to everything. And you'll see some crazy things in your bot, John. Guaranteed.
They'll say it to us in person. I can only imagine what they'll say to a bot.
Yeah. And then the only thing we didn't go through is the subscription util here. And this is just a basic subscription management tool to allow people to subscribe and unsubscribe. What we have here is very basic. It's a simple subscribe and unsubscribe. Anytime someone unsubscribes, we route them through an unsubscribe all here. What this allows you to do is, trust me, this saves a ton of time. I got this one from Alfredo. Is you go into one place and you update all of your subscriptions and unsubscriptions, having to go into, as your bot gets built out and you have more and more blocks, if you have to go into every block and unsubscribe, it's a time-consuming nightmare. So that's it for our bot framework. Any questions?
Take a look and see what we have on the chat.
I'm going to look on Facebook while you're doing that. We've ignored Facebook people.
Oh.
And any questions?
Yeah, definitely agree with home and auto. In the consumer's mind, it's definitely going to be price is going to be their primary concern. You can oftentimes uncover coverage-based issues, but they're always 90% of the time going to start with either price or claims. And I am hoping that we'll actually get better results off auto than some of you people who've done this with life. In the United States, at least, you have to have auto insurance. While everyone probably should have life insurance, it's typically, there's not a requirement there.
A couple of Q&As. I don't know why it's there. I don't know what the context of that is. Anything else we missed on the chat side? So yeah, I'm going to share one last screen, and we should have started with this, but let's just go through the summary of the 10-day course real quick. Some assumption. We should have started with this. My apologies. Maybe I have to edit this video and take this 5 minutes and move it to the beginning. So the assumptions. What we're going to be doing for the next 10 days is we're assuming we're using ChatFuel as the bot, what I call the engine. It's the architecture. It's the framework. Trust me. Let me open a bot or two. These get really big, really ugly, really fast. You want as lightweight a possible bot that you can build in ChatFuel. It gets overwhelming quickly. As you can see here, when you get all these blocks, it almost becomes unmanageable. So what we try to do is limit the footprint and make this as lightweight as possible. Number one is it will scale better if you don't put too much stuff in it. The more stuff you put in here, the less you'll be able to scale. The scale part comes on the artificial intelligence or dialogue flow side. That's days 4 through 7. Back to where I was. All right. The artificial intelligence engine, or the fuel, as we call it, we're going to be using is Dialogflow. It's Google's product. One thing to note about a bot, a ChatFuel bot or any bot, it's not proprietary. You don't own it. ChatFuel can shut down today and we're all screwed. ManyChat could shut down today or tomorrow. We're all screwed. There's nothing proprietary about the bot at all. You can't pick it up and move it. It's you're completely dependent upon that third party. On the AI side, it is proprietary and it is an asset. Let me say that again. Your artificial intelligence is an asset. I can see a point in time coming where you gather all this intelligence, you have an artificial intelligence engine, it could be Google's Dialogflow, Amazon's products, IBM Watson, Microsoft Azure, doesn't matter. It's an asset. You can take that asset, take that artificial intelligence, pick it up, move it over, put it in the next product. It's your data. You own it. Can't emphasize that enough. So the more that we shove into AI, the more proprietary stuff you have and the bigger and better your asset is. Then the driver is you. The person that's driving this whole thing, making it work, is you. That's the assumption. We're also going to use Janus. I call this the glue. The glue that's going to hold all of this together and help you perform better, be more efficient. That will be covered days 4 through 7 as well. Integration tools such as Integromat, Zapier, any custom APIs that you may build or have someone build for you. We call these force multipliers. These are ways to extract data out of your bot, send them to a CRM, kick off automatic phone dialers, send drip campaigns, send automated text, do ringless voicemail, unlimited. Finally, we're only doing English. And then these last 6 or 7 points for strategy, the goals and objectives of what we're trying to accomplish. We're going to create, deploy, and publish a robust insurance bot with basic conversational intelligence. The bot will be available in the ChatFuel template library, and the AI agent, Dialogflow agent, will be available to download and upload into your Dialogflow account. We're going to be building out a couple objection scripts. We're going to be relying heavily on John for that, and anyone else that is a master of objection handling. We're going to give demonstration about how to set up your Janus account. Seth's going to be helping with documentation. And then towards the end, we're going to have premium training and classes and courses and other tips, tactics, and techniques that you can search for and buy into in the future. And that's all we got. John, questions, comments, concerns? We got 4 minutes. It's 4:56.
This sounds all great. I'm excited to participate and learn along the way.
Cool. So what I recommend you do, and I'll make an offer I'll regret here shortly. So what I recommend you do is make a copy, clone this bot. Have you done so yet or no?
I can do that here in just a moment.
Okay. What I recommend you do is you clone V01, and create the John Circle D01 template and attach it to, if you have a test page or your page, and, spend 5 or 10 minutes to familiarize yourself with it.
Okay.
And here's the crazy, stupid offer I'm going to make, and I'm only going to do it one time. And depending on the reaction and response, I may not make it again. If someone else wants a copy of D01 right now, while it's not in the chat field template library, send me a message, and I will send you an admin link. Please note I have to do this one at a time. So if too many people ask for it, that's going to take a lot of time to do it. Moving forward, these will be available in the template library. Or you can wait till day 10 and just wait for the big enchilada. Cool. All right, last round of questions, comments, concerns. Anything today that you're uncertain about? Anything at all that you're concerned about? Any tech guru out there that has watched this and has any recommendations? Anything that I left out of the bot framework? Anything that you do that's cool that you want to share your secrets with us? We've shared ours, you share yours. Please feel free to leave a comment or question. I'm checking Facebook. I don't see anything coming in. I don't know if that means people are sleeping or they're overwhelmed. A couple comments, no questions. All right, that's all I have. I hope, John, you learned something today.
Absolutely.
Cool. And I'm looking forward to day 2. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to build out the flows. Time permitting, we're going to build out a flow or the flows, depending on how much time we have. I'd prefer not to go an hour long, but this is kind of what happens. What do you prefer? What's that? Day 1?
It's day 1. We'll get the flow of it.
All right. So tomorrow we'll try for 45 minutes. Is that good?
Sounds good.
Cool. And which of home, auto, or combined home and auto, which do you think is the best flow? And well, first let's answer that. Which is the best one? Which would you like to start with?
I think auto is the framework for everything.
Okay, so let's start with auto. And then if you can help me or help us by tomorrow, send us a form or a list of questions. What is it that we're trying to get out of the bot? And then what we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to dissect that. And we're going to talk about short form versus long form.
Okay.
But if you could send that over to me, I'll make sure it's prepared for the agenda and we'll have our talking points.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Let me go through the questions and comments one last time. Sergio looks good. Guy says, thank you. Thanks for joining, Guy. Contact me if you want to discuss license concerns. I'm interested. What is he talking to you?
On Facebook?
No, it's here in Zoom. It's from Vargas. Contact me if you want to discuss license concerns. I'm interested. I don't know the context of that.
Possibly. Someone mentioned earlier that one of the issues is if someone happens to get into your bot from out of state, you might want a qualifying question that very quickly that identifies location.
Okay.
So you're not giving advice to someone in a state you're not licensed.
Okay.
And that can be done with some of those third-party aggregator companies and by essentially providing the lead information to them or some sort of handoff to another agent with a company you represent. There's lots of possibilities there.
Okay. And Jim asked, where can we send you a message to receive today's templates? I just put in the bottom here, I put a link to my personal profile on Facebook. You can send it there. I respond to Facebook Messenger immediately. Thanks, Brent, for joining. Hope to see you tomorrow. Heather Bartjes, thanks for the info. And oh, you work with Howard. Awesome. So another tech guru. Love it. All right, John, that's it. Time to go. 5:01.
All right.
All right, thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care.
Okay, bye now.